Hi everyone, it's Nono here, and this is part 2 of how to train StyleGAN models in Runway. This second part covers actually kicking off a training job with the dataset that we used on the previous video, or that we collected in the previous video. This is the dataset. It's composed by images from the Edward Ruscha collection. These are all from 2007 and are provided by the Getty Research Institute. We have 4,927 images that are 1024 by 691 pixels, so they're like proportion 3:2, and they will get stretched out by the Runway preprocessor. We're going to train for 3,000 steps. Arguably, we can continue training afterwards if we want to, and by the price that is half a cent per step, we'll be paying $15 for this experiment. So without further ado, let's go and start training. So this collection of images, right, I have here in a folder that is my dataset folder. And this is all you need. You just need all the folders. These are all JPEGs. You just need all the folders, so all the images in a folder. And this is what we'll input into Runway. All right, let's go now and open actually Runway. This is Runway ML for those of you who are not familiar with it. I'm in the desktop version, but you can also use this on the web. And this is the home screen that you get when you open. I have my account here and I have a credit. So I have like around $220 in credit. And this is money that, as my account is of the type creator, I can do as many training runs as I want, paying by training step. As I mentioned before, half a cent per training step. All right. You can see here on the left, there is this tab that lets you choose between model workspaces, models, my models, train, and hosted. We're going to go and click on train. This is the training interface that we'll get, and Runway right now allows us to train image generative models, text generative models, and object detection models. Of course, generative text, it generates text as if it was a human, or like with different data sets and training runs. Object detection, you can label your data in another environment, or I think in Runway as well, and then train object detectors for whatever type of data sets you might have. Today we'll focus on image generation. These are models that with input might be like a vectors or numbers or like some seed or even other images. We could input them into the model and then get an output. In Runway, I think right now, if we click here an image, we're going to put here our experiment is going to be called Streets of LA. So we're going to create that experiment. And as you can see here, it says choose an existing public dataset or upload your own. From 500 to 5,000 images recommended. We went to the upper tier of 5,000. We are almost there. And that's because the more images you have, the more features or more properties of your images the StyleGAN model will learn about. You can see here, it's actually not telling us anything about it being using StyleGAN, and that's because Runway tries to make this a bit easier and not unnecessary terminology to the process. We have 4 steps here, so the dataset, preparation and uploading, the setup of our training experiment, the training itself, and then reviewing. While you're training, you can switch off Runway and the training will happen on the cloud, so you can come back to the experiment later or open at any time to see its progress. And then what you can see here is that we can either look here for data sets or choose our own. These are data sets that, because of some of their natures, they might be of lower resolution than 1024. So we're going to go and click ahead on upload dataset. So you can see this option here. We're going to click on upload dataset. And as I click, I just get prompted for a folder. So I'm going to click on here. This is the folder dataset that we mentioned before with my almost 5,000 images from the Edward Ruscha dataset. And I'm going to click on open. So once we open that, I imagine that what's going to happen is that there is some pre-processing or packing that needs to happen in this dataset for Runway to be able to upload it to the cloud and then train with our own data. Let's zoom in here into this preparation process. So right now it compressed it, so it made a C file, and then it's uploading to the cloud. So it fairly soon will be ready. Training experiments, if you're not familiar with it, I've commented before, you need to be a creator on Runway. So this means this is right now $12 a month if you pay annually fee for being a creator. And that way you can do unlimited hosted models and unlimited training experiments. but you still need to pay for those services afterwards. That doesn't mean that they're free. You need to pay half a cent per training step in the case of training jobs, and you have to pay 1 cent per post request, that's request to your service, if you're hosting your models. We could train a model and then make it public, or maybe even host it and then use it from our own applications or let other people use them via web requests. All right, so it seems like our model is finishing uploading. So let's zoom out a bit. And now we have this dataset here. The name of the dataset is just dataset. So maybe it's a good practice that you name the dataset in a different way. And that probably is a good practice. So we can just rename it here and we'll say Russia here, so you can see. So Russia 2007 Hollywood and Beverly. All right, so we have that data set there, and now pre-processed data. So there is a panel here that says pre-processed data. These, as you can see, are already square images I mentioned before. And we have the dataset, preview dataset, pre-processed data. What happens if we pre-process the data? When I click pre-processed data, this panel showed up. So it seems like it's loading some of the data points that I've uploaded. All right, so let's click here on next. So we have now our training options. So we're on the setup step. And what best describe your dataset? Choose the image category that best fits your project. Advanced, StyleGAN 2, faces. So these are some presets here that are for making it simpler if you're going to train for scenes, illustrations, objects, or faces. But we're actually going to go into the advanced tab. And in these training options, you can choose between StyleGAN and StyleGAN 2. You can see here we get the Flickr Faces HQ for StyleGAN 1 and the faces as well for StyleGAN 2. So we're going to go with StyleGAN 2 and faces. And it says here that if we go to estimated training time is 2 hours, right? So we'll go with the StyleGAN 2 and the faces dataset. Now here on the side tab, we have these pre-processing options. As I mentioned before, our images are 3:2 in proportion, so they're not square. So we can choose to do center crop, which will take out some of the parts of our images. We can do a random crop, or we can do no crop. Actually in here, if we do no crop, we'll be losing some resolution from the actual training, and we'll get these black bands on the top and bottom of our image. But this will resemble the actual proportion of our images. We can train with a bit more data if we squeeze our dataset and make it all square. And maybe that's something that we can do. So we have here the training steps. So for 3000 is what it seems to be the default, is 2 hours. And then we will click here on start training. Let's get out of this for a second. Let's go back to our dataset preparation and try to do some image pre-processing ourselves. So we have here this dataset that is our dataset folder. So I'm going to copy the dataset folder to dataset square. And this is just copying all the images as they are. And you could do this manually and as well. So it doesn't really matter. So we have our dataset here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy my folder and make a new folder that I'm going to call dataset square. So you can see that this is being copied at the moment. And once this finishes, I'm just going to rename this to dataset square. So it's going to be a second version of our dataset that right now looks exactly the same, but with a magic command here on the command line, something that you could actually just do with an action in Photoshop as well. I'm going to say that I want to resize. So let's just make this a bit bigger. And let's put our images behind here. So we're going to resize all our images to 124 by 124, and this bank makes them squeeze themselves even if the proportion doesn't meet the actual proportion of the images. So what happens here if we go into edit mode is that all of these images are getting modified and are getting squeezed to the format that we want to train this with a square proportion in Runway. You see, these images already start to comply with this square proportion. And I'm just doing this. You could just go here into Runway and click on, in the setup, click on either no crop, and I think it will just add some padding to the top and the bottom. you could say a random crop, so it will get either part of the image, and then you can also get center crop just to get the center crop of the image. But to maintain the 3:2 proportion, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch all images to the square proportion, like you can see here. We'll train that way, and then later we can squeeze them back to the original resolution, and that way we'll have more information, more data in our model. So it seems like this is gonna take a bit. Let's take a look at our options inside of Runway again. So we have here, what we did was we uploaded a data set that we can go here and actually we could delete it. We have the other data set, and now when we delete the data set, we don't get the setup button anymore. All right, so let's wait until this command executes completely. So it seems like it's gonna take some time. All right, so it seems like the operation has completed, and now we can browse through all of these images that are beautifully square, right? So this is the same data set we had, but we've skewed it or stretched it to be 1024 by 1024 perfectly, even though our original data set was 1024 by 691. Okay, so we have all these images, and this is what we're gonna upload to Runway. So let's go back to our Runway interface, and let's do one thing that we didn't do before. So let's do Russia 2007 Square Hollywood Beverly Hills. So let me just try to make this a bit so we can recognize different data sets if we were to create many. All right, so back here, so I'm gonna click again on upload dataset. I'm gonna select now this folder, and again, we're gonna have to wait until this gets compressed and then upload it to the cloud into Runway. And what's cool is that while this is uploading, we can go to our training experiments and take a look at them. So here I have a few training experiments. I haven't really completed any of them. So I'm gonna go and delete previous ones, and I'm gonna rename this one to 2007 Square, put it here, like Hollywood Beverly Hills. Let's just put it like that. We can rename later. So we can reopen our experiment and now see that our dataset has finished uploading. And once that's there, we will get a dataset similar to the other ones. It will tell us how many files. So we have 4,927 images, and this dataset is 1 gig. It's bigger actually than any other dataset that we have. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go into next. So I'm going to click on that button there. And now, as we saw before, so we will go into advanced because we want to train StyleGAN, and we want to use the faces, Flickr Faces HQ dataset that is 1024 by 1024, the highest resolution and exactly the same size than our dataset. All right, so here now, what we can see is that if we do center crop, random crop, or no crop, we get the same image because we already pre-formatted or pre-processed our data in the format that StyleGAN needs it. So we'll do no crop, so there is no pre-processing there. And we'll select 3,000 steps for now. We can stop the training at any point, and we can also continue training after those 3,000 steps. Okay, we're gonna click here on Start Training. And once we do that, Runway tells us that now we can close or use the app normally while training. This won't affect your experiment. Got it. So that means that Runway is actually doing this process in the cloud. So while training, you can continue using Runway or even close it and then come back at a later step. You can see here that we've completed our dataset preparation. We've uploaded it to Runway and then set up our training job. And then we click on training. So far, we've prepared our dataset, pre-processed it for StyleGAN, and uploaded it to Runway. We've set up our training experiment, selecting the 1024 by 1024 Faces origin dataset. That is the Flickr Faces HQ dataset. That is the highest resolution we can train at. And then we've clicked on training. We've started our training, and while this is going, you can close the application or visualize the process. The training status is that it started a minute ago. It's starting right now, the training, so it hasn't really started training yet. And we have here a few things. So steps is the amount of steps that the training has completed, so you can see how much progress or how much is left. The FID score is a score that StyleGAN has, and the lowest the value, the better the performance or the accuracy of your generated images. So when you get to know this model, when you get a good FID score, you might know when the model is performing. Maybe you can even stop training earlier and see some of the generated images or how it performs. And then here is the estimated time of arrival, approximated, which is being calculated because the model hasn't started training yet. All right, so we could stop the training here, so we haven't really done any steps, and then maybe we can use this time to read these things, like status, current state of your training experiment. So FID is the FID Fréchet Inception Distance. Measures the visual similarity between the generated images from the model and the images from the original dataset. The lower the FID score, the closer the generated images are to the original ones. That means how realistic or how similar to the ones that you've uploaded they are. And then steps, the number of steps the algorithm takes to learn the features in the dataset. That's actually set up by us. The default is 3000 on Runway, but we could have set it up to 100, 1000, or 5000. And this is something that we will have to see as we learn about Runway and about StyleGAN in particular. All right, so our dataset is being passed into the model, and the model will try to learn how to create new images based on our dataset. So hopefully we'll be able to create interpolation videos and also new synthetic images that resemble the original images but are not real, and that learn from the features in our dataset to generate those images. All right, so it seems like we don't really have a lot to do here. I'm gonna wait until something shows up here and show it to you. And as a recap, we've used we're using this dataset, which is all squared images from the Edward Ruscha collection that are 1024 by 1024 because we squeezed them and are all square. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the results, and on the next video we'll explore the results and see what we can do with the Runway interface to review this model, generate new images, and produce interpolation videos. All right, so here we can see that after 15 or 20 minutes after we started off our training run, we can actually see some metrics and also the training that is in progress. It's a slider. You can see from the beginning. Let's zoom in a bit. So this is a really nice UI. So this is the initial data set, was something like this. And as we start training, you can see that we get an animation or as we slide here from step number 1 till step number 200, that is what we're trained. These phases will get a bit scary. This is just to let you know we have the opportunity here while we're training to save a sample image here with step 1, and then save one with a step 70 and one with step 210, right? As we're training, we'll see more and more steps. We're right now at step 16 of 3000, and we can see that we got there in 30 minutes. The FID score is at 259.72, almost 260. We'll be going down and down as we complete more steps. And it says that the estimated time is 6 hours. So it's not 2 hours that is estimated initially, but we'll see how long it takes. All right, so, and yeah, that is that. So we'll save another step here. And now I'm just going to open those so you can see them. So we have here those images, which make for a really good animation. All right. Okay, so I've waited for 1 hour and a half. So now we're down to 2 hours since we started training. You can see status is still training, but now instead of 260, we're at 114 FID score. That's visible here, so you can see it that these images resemble a lot more those colored images from the Ruscha dataset that I was showing before. And we still have half of the training process to go. We have 1500 training steps to go. We've gone 1500 already. So in this bar, the cool thing that we can do while this is training and we've completed an amount of steps that Runway asks you to wait for. So you can see here that we have the transition from the Flickr Faces HQ to the images that look like the ones I have input so far. If we go to the middle, we see these scary images while the faces are turning into landscapes and they end up not showing up anymore. So as before, we could save sample images. So I could go here and click on save sample image and then get prompted with a menu in which I can choose a folder to select where to save. But more interestingly is that already we can see that button there that tells me that I can create a progress video. So if we do that, Runway will export a video, and you can see it on the assets panel, and we have the video here. So this is my data set. So this video is in progress, so it's an asset that is getting created on my Runway account and probably is being processed on the cloud. And when that's done, we can click here and download, or we can click here to view it. So this is an MP4 video probably. And yeah, so it's like an animation that goes from those faces into the step of the process that we're at right now. And this is probably 30 frames per second, and that's why it's so fast. But it's a video that it's literally just exporting all of the frames that we have trained so far. We can see this full screen, and we can also share this video and share the process up to where we are at the moment. You can see that even though this dataset wasn't a landscape or something that looks like the scenes that I was training, the dataset ends up forgetting about the features that make something be a face and go into just learning features from my dataset. You can see the silhouette of the face is still here. And yeah, so that is one way we could make this asset visible to anyone. We could delete it, we can rename it, and we can also download it. So you can click on download. I can save that to my desktop, and then I can see that on my desktop. So now this is just an MP4 video that we can see in Mac or share or whatnot. All right, so we're going to wait a bit more. So what I wanted to show you before is that during this training process, I can close Runway and then open it again. So Runway is not training on my machine, it's actually training on the cloud. And what this means is that we will always be seeing here this number 1 for like the training experiment that is still running. So we can click on train and we could create a new one or see the ones that are in progress. So here you can see that this Russia experiment is in progress. It tells us that it's at step 1600 out of 3000. It's a 53% progress. We can click here and it will load the same thing that we just saw up to wherever it has trained. And as you saw, we can create the video. Estimated time now, it's 2 hours. So it came from 6 hours to 4 hours total. And we could stop the training. I'm not going to do that right now. So we'll wait until this is finished and we'll continue from here. Here we can see up to 2,210 steps, a bit of improvement. So we were here before. You can see images are a lot cleaner and that our FID score keeps decreasing. So we're at 90 now and we have 780 steps to go. 1 hour approximated for this to finish. So let's check back in a bit. All right, so it seems like after 3 hours, the training is finishing. So it's saying that we have, it just finished. So we had 5 minutes left, but the training just finished. So it's completed and we're gonna see later what this means and where the model got to. Yeah, so we'll take a look. As you can see here, we get the continue training button, so we can go back to training, but yeah, we'll go back and take a look later. After closing and then opening Runway again, we can see that this experiment is no longer in progress. So it succeeded 35 minutes ago. And when I click, I get this congratulations screen where it says that I've trained my model. I can view my model, I can add it to a workspace, I can change the selected checkpoint for this model to generate images, or I can continue training up here. You can also see that there is a latent space walk that gets automatically generated by Runway. So this is a video or a GIF, and that we can choose also a set number of images to generate. So we can click here on save video, and we can just save this to our desktop. So this will be our latent space walk, and you can see it here. So this is the latent space walk that is produced by this model that we just trained. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.